Welcome to Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Cheri Hardman. I'm your ex-ho, and today's guest is Dennis Cruz. So sit back, relax, enjoy the episode, and remember the old saying, always a bridesmaid when you're a hoe.
Yeah, I'm Dennis Cruz from Portland, Oregon. Uh, uh, I don't like the term straight, but we'll go with that. Heterosexual. Um, he, him, uh, in a relationship now for a little while.
Okay. You know that in advance? It's only for a little while?
No. It's
It's only been a little while so far. Got it, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mm,
All
mm.
right. First thing we do is we play a game of Marry, Shag, Kill.
Uh-oh.
And I always try to orient it to the person, but I don't know you that well. So I went and looked at your Facebook page, saw that you host a kind of comedy game show type thing.
Yes.
Okay.
They
So
said what?
that will determine that knowing that will help make sense who I picked for this. So you can see that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, I'm going to show you three people. You're going to have to marry one, shag one, and kill one. Your
Okay.
choices are I did game show edition. So these are people that have hosted game shows.
Ah.
We have Kiki Palmer, Elizabeth Banks, Meredith Vieira. Who are you going to marry? Who are you going to shag? Who are you going to kill?
Well, it's already in that order. I definitely married Kiki, but Shag Elizabeth Banks and Meredith Vieira, I really do not like.
Oh,
as as
well,
a,
I
as a
made it easy
TV
for you then, huh?
as a TV personality, she comes across to me as annoying.
Okay. Well, good choices.
Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah. Well, too easy, but okay. I'll keep that in mind. Well, it's like here it was like 10 till, and I went, shit, I forgot to make the Mary Shag Kill. So that's how fast I did that. So I guess I should have thought it out better and really stumped you.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
when it comes to sex, would you rather watch or be watched?
I'd probably rather watch if that
Okay.
were the only options. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's weird. Okay.
When I first started this, I thought all comedians were going to say be watched
Oh,
because we like attention, but it's
sure.
not that has not been the case at all. So
Yeah.
um,
Well,
when
now
you
I
were
don't feel so alone.
no, there's a lot of people. It's usually because of like body issues, like they don't want
Yes.
people looking at their, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, get over here. When you were young, what did your parents or whoever raised you? What were their names for private parts?
Um, well, they didn't bring them up. Uh, I mean, my literal sex talk at 5 was, you know how everything works, right? And that was the culmination of my sexual awakening until high school when
Ah,
uh, when everything was introduced and I could look at the books. I mean, I read the books in the library and I figured out most of what was going on, but yeah, I didn't get the official conversation from an adult until high school.
how do you think your life would have been different in any way if you had been informed earlier?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Like
There,
how?
well, there are hangups now because I've gotten things wrong,
Oh, okay, that
and
makes sense.
and these are those things that you've held to be true since you can remember type of
Right,
thinking,
right,
and this that I think somebody clarifying just
right.
not necessarily what are your questions because I don't know what questions to ask. I don't know what's valid and invalid.
Mhm.
And but if someone would have just said, okay, this in basic format is what's going on,
Right,
and it would have made a little more sense.
right. That
Um, yeah.
That makes sense because it's funny. I do a thing sometimes where I call it sexual mind reading, where I tell people what I think they're like in bed just by looking at them. And every now and then I'll say to a guy like, "Oh, this guy right here, he just learned yesterday that women have three holes." And I said that one day, and then the kid like laughed, and then he goes, "Oh, wait, what?" um, were your parents good relationship role models?
No. I was raised by my grandparents.
Okay.
Um, my uh, my mother had seven kids. She only wanted six. Um, but I was a child that didn't save the marriage, in my opinion, because she had me and then got rid of me. Because that was when my parents broke up.
Mm,
Uh, and so I basically was raised by my grandparents. They were great. My grandfather loved my grandmother, but there was no. My grandmother was going through heart problems, heart surgeries, and so there was no real interaction between them as a relationship other than, are you okay? And you're doing okay. And he would talk
mm.
to her, and that was their relationship as far as I knew it.
So, all right. So you had like kind of a good role model and you kind of had a bad role model.
Yeah.
So how has all that affected you and your relationships, do you think?
I have had well, I've been divorced a few times. And
Few
it
times?
a few times.
Okay.
And it I think it's reflected in that. I think it's reflected in the way I approach certain things, just out of the ordinary, where it wouldn't necessarily be the expected response, but it's the response I can give. If that makes any sense, I hope. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely affected how I interact with people. But I had a weird upbringing to begin with. So I was segregated in school for being intelligent. They put me in a library for 5 or 6 years, away from other children. Uh, that sounds so wild. I,
Does.
I this was the 60s and the 70s, and California, and they were introducing a lot of different programs to help kids free form their thinking process.
Mm-hmm.
Kids shouldn't have a curriculum. They should be able to figure out what's interesting and learn on their own. So I was a part of my school's, probably was the only kid in my school's program for 2 years. And then they brought in some other kids, but I had already had a head start. So I was acing the smart kids room without even trying. It became a
But
weird.
didn't that totally make you like socially
Oh
amiss?
no, I had no social skills
Yeah.
going into.
Why didn't they think of that aspect of it?
I don't think they were concerned with me. I think they were concerned with the additional funds that me provided.
Oh.
Um, schools are the schools I went to, the public schools I went to, were very population centric. They were in the lower income side of towns. I grew up in the east side of San Jose, um, which at the time was uh, very, I wouldn't say poverty, but it was definitely rentals and temporary transient communities. Even though people lived there for 5, 10, 15 years, there were still fluctuations in the thing because everything was a rental. Um, and so you had public schools that were trying to maintain a standing in the community, so they needed money. So they would latch on to any programs that were available that were going to provide the funds. I remember I when I well I cut kindergarten when I was younger. I figured out a way that you could leave at lunch and not come back, and so I did. And I got in trouble for that, and they're making me be in trouble because I had to go through Saturday school, and that also followed me later on in life. so that they could get their money back for the time I wasn't there.
Mm,
So I've been affected greatly by my childhood in the sense of my interactions with people, my social interaction. Kind of why I think it shocked everybody when I said I was going to start doing comedy some 7 years ago, um, because I wasn't a sociable individual.
right.
I don't know if I am yet. I don't know if it's changed me. I think I'm more capable of interacting with people in a social situation. I'm more comfortable in those situations, or at least it appears that way.
Yeah. I think a lot of comedians, well, I was just talking about this with my brother yesterday. A lot of us are introverts basically,
Yeah.
and then get up on stage and I just spill it all. It's amazing. Uh,
Well, it's like a release. You can just
yeah,
go. It doesn't matter. I'm up here, and as long as it's funny, they're gonna enjoy it.
right. Right. All right, you mentioned the word sexual awakening, which is the next question I always ask. Is I want to hear about your sexual awakening, whether it was like when you first started hearing stuff about sex, or noticing it in your body, or something you saw. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, like I said, I had read the books. I knew what was going on. I knew what was happening, but I didn't necessarily. Um, it happened. I'm not going to say it happened all at once, but it happened where I recognized it all of a sudden. Hey, I like that person. I like that girl. I like that woman. Um, and that was about 12 that that kicked in. Um, and I think that affected the next 6 years of my life because literally on a pivotal scale, it was a lot of what I felt I wanted to encounter was just interacting with other people, being around other people that I found attractive, that I found, how do I figure out how to talk to them? I never figured it out when I was a teenager, dude.
Right.
It was that social stumble to where I just fell into situations. I figured out, oh, if I say yes to hey, do you want to go to this? Or hey, are you going to be here? Or hey, we're going to be over here. Are you going to be there? And I said, yeah. And then I'd show up. Um, it made it weird, but still, I it was easy to be the guy in the corner that doesn't have to talk to anybody as long as you were there. Because then, hey, weren't you at that thing? Yeah, I was at that thing. Oh, cool. What'd you think of this? Make something up because I wasn't paying
Mhm.
any attention. Um, but I started doing that a lot more because of that awakening, that awareness of what was happening, or what, not necessarily what was happening, but this new idea that these people were attractive.
Right. All right. Did you have any celebrity crushes?
Oh God, Facts of Life, Blair, uh,
Oh,
and Marianne from Gilligan's Island, but that was the young kid crush. The 10-year-old watching reruns on Channel
mm-hmm.
36,
Mm.
going, ooh, I like Marianne better than Ginger. Ginger seems kind of scary. Uh, but no, definitely Blair from The Facts of Life was my first hardcore crush.
Is would you say Blair's your type? Like, do you have a type or?
Uh sure. Yeah, no, I definitely say that would I have a tendency, well, I had a tendency to fall for Southern belles.
Mm,
Just and I think she kind of had that in a weird way with the big hair and the
hmm.
clothing and the way she dressed and presented herself. So yeah, I guess there was a type there.
Okay.
Um, that didn't limit me to anything other than I like. Well, it was the '80s. I like big hair. I
Yeah.
I even had big hair at that time.
Yeah, I did too. Do you remember like any mainstream movies that you saw that had like a love scene or sex scene that you wanted to watch over and
Oh
over?
God, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Phoebe Cates coming out of the
Oh,
pool. That
yeah,
was
yeah,
that was the pinnacle of everybody I knew as a teenager at the time. That was the ultimate in fantasy of
right.
Jesus, look at her.
Uh,
Um, and then you had, well, any movie that was out at the time that had some kind of horror into it. We were getting into the horror kind of genre, and with the Friday the 13th, they always had open shirt shot. You had Phantasm, which was a horror movie that had full frontal, and it was just starting. See, because the '70s opened up this whole door with movies and nudity that wasn't present in the early '60s, mid '60s, or before. Because you had Jane Fonda doing Barbarella in the mid '70s, and that changed the structure of cinema. You had Deep Throat being accepted as a real movie, as actual. Hey, let's go see this as a group of friends, um, and all of this changed. You also had a lot of people doing cocaine, but that might have affected it too.
yeah.
But there was that whole allowing these types of movies to take place. Um, Midnight Cowboy, John Voight, Dustin Hoffman. Um, he
Mm-hmm.
played a male gigolo who didn't know how to
Right.
gigolo, and it was a great movie, but it approached a lot of different topics. George C. Patton, hardcore, chasing his daughter who's
Oh,
out in
yeah, I
California
remember
doing
that.
porn. Yeah,
How old are you, if you don't mind me
I'm
asking?
58.
Okay, so you're like
I was,
5 years younger than me. So
ah.
I yeah, I remember all of this. Well, then it was like then it came like what year was that? 70s. No, maybe that was eight. American Gigolo with Richard Gere.
That
That
was right 79, I believe.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
but before that it was Shampoo, Warren Beatty.
yes, that
That
was
was
Warren
very
Beatty. Yeah, and that was that whole, this is happening, and men are a big part of it, and they can be allowed as long as they look really good and they have great hair.
yeah. My hairdresser actually says that that movie is what made him want to be a hairdresser.
Oh, really?
Isn't that
Shampoo?
funny? Uh,
Oh,
yeah. Do you watch
that's awesome.
porn?
On occasion, nothing. I don't know. It's pretty vanilla, I guess it would be.
Okay.
Just a couple. Um, yeah, nothing. I don't have
Nothing
a whole lot of.
outlandish.
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Do you think porn's had any effects on your life?
Oh yeah. No. Oh yeah. I worked in a 7-Eleven at 12, so I had access to penthouse letters.
Oh,
Um, and all the, well, I got it from, I was reading the magazine for the articles.
yeah.
That's that's all it was.
Uh-huh.
Um, and just, I didn't know they were made up. I mean, they seemed real to me at the time. I took them to be as real as they could be, and that allowed me to understand there were other things out there, other than what I was seeing on TV, other than what they were showing on Porky's or Animal House or any of
Uh-huh.
these coming of age movies where, ooh, let's go do this and be silly. Um, these were actual quote unquote stories that did open up to same sex relationships. You had people doing threesomes, foursomes, group activities, all writing in, talking about them.
Yeah.
And as that impression was received by me, I understood. I didn't have any confusion about, oh, maybe, maybe this is bad. Maybe, yeah, I knew it was all, I was going to burn in hell, and it's going to be terrible, and I had to confess. But I still read it. I still read it.
Right. Right.
Um, And that was one thing that did affect me as a kid was up until my teenage years was religion, Roman Catholic, um, by upbringing, and um, yeah, that was there's a lot of hangups there. There's a lot of craziness there, in how they deal with uh, natural functions of the body. Put it
Right,
that way.
right.
And I just that was one of the reasons I had to I all of these other bits of information that that you didn't read that in the Bible, but I read about this other stuff. It made more sense to me than something that I was supposed to believe in and have faith in. Um, and then we could go into how it's allegory and it's story and all this, and then some people think it's real. I don't know. It's not a part of my life. It was then because it was forced on me. And when
Mm.
I became able to not have that intimidation, I left it behind.
It is really hard to live a life constantly thinking about how you're going to hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I know. All right, what's your definition of amazing sex?
Uh, um, Enjoying each other for several moments before anything else happens. Enjoying not being uncomfortable with your partner, not being intimidated or shy about uh, discussing things that can happen or might happen, or that they want that you want, and just enjoying that time together as you have it, as it's there. Uh, and of course, both people having that same experience, but you can't guarantee that. I mean, it's hard to, I mean, you can wish for it. And that's, I guess, what I'm doing. Um, just a culmination of we're both here to enjoy ourselves. We're both here to enjoy this experience and let it be that experience as opposed to any hangups or confusions or
Mhm.
questions or any of that. Um, it sounds easy, but it's impossible.
I don't know about that. Well, you know what I will say is just like this is totally off the subject, but I'm looking at you and I've always liked guys with long hair. So don't take this as like I don't like your long, but just having your hair all pulled back and looking at your face, I never really realized how handsome your face is
Oh,
before.
well,
So
thank you.
I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment,
No, I'll
but
take it. I'll take it.
okay. I'm going to go over to the wheel of dirty questions now. Okay.
All right.
You only have to do one. So let's go. Oh, wait, I know what I need to do. Pushing the wrong thing. There we go. No, that was not the right. All right, we got to get rid of these ladies. Come on. Okay. Have you ever heard your parents having sex?
No. No. Again, an easy one. We can do another one.
All right, let's do another one. What is your favorite sexual position?
Missionary with pillows.
Pillows
Supporting,
where?
underneath your partner, supporting them.
Okay,
I,
that was easy.
yeah, like I said,
Um,
it's vanilla. I,
no, I think missionary is highly underrated. You know.
uh, I like the eye contact. I like the physical awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I just you get everything I need.
How's your body image?
I'm working on it. But I've been working on it for 58 years. It's I'm I'm not as light as I want to be, but I'm not heavy. I'm in better shape than I have been in a while because I've actually been working on being in shape. So I think it's getting better. There are still always some self-conscious things that I go to the sauna, so I don't really have a problem being seen. I just think I'd have a problem being seen naked. Um, but I don't mind if the lights are on or off. So
Okay. Okay. What's the best compliment you've ever gotten on your naked body?
um, you look good like that, being naked. Yes.
That's nice. Yeah. Do you have any sexual regrets?
Oh God, yes. All my marriages. Well, all my ex-wives, I was introduced to them the same way with the same sentence. Hey, meet my girlfriend. Um,
Got it.
mm, no, there was. I'll say there was a period of time when I was um not even concerned with who the person was, just as long as I was involved with something. Um, it was the act of sex as opposed to the person I was having sex with.
Mhm.
Uh, became a more important thing for a little while, and that made me, when I realized what was happening, it made me nervous that I would have fallen into that little. I'll call it a trap, because it's a way of thinking that is not necessarily healthy. But I know a lot of people that see it that way, simply because you can say environment, you can say advertising, you can say whatever. They're not conscious of that they're doing it because they're not paying attention to what they're doing. They're just enjoying what's happening.
Mhm.
And that can be, like I say, a trap for me. Because after a certain period of time, I go, why is this? What am I missing? Why is this the same thing over and over?
Mhm.
And why am I not enjoying any of these people that I'm meeting other than for that brief little
Right.
interaction?
Right.
But that was a while ago. 2020, second marriage, 20 odd years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that we grew up in a moment of time where sexual revolution had just happened. People were loose and free, and
Oh
it was
yeah.
pre-AIDS and all that. So just that free love that went on through, until about the night, mid 1980s. It
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
beautiful.
Up until 86, everything was awesome.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of all went.
Then
If
reality hit. Yeah.
if you catch this disease, you're going to die, and that was real, and no one wanted to talk about it. No one wanted to discuss it. I lived with people who, well, in '84, I was hanging out with sleeping at places where you could rent a room and it didn't matter who was there. And I met a lot of people in the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, that were struggling, that were facing those trials, and not a whole lot of them made it through.
Right.
But it was one of those things where, okay, this is what sex is now, and
Mm-hmm.
how do I live with it, or how do I do it? And I know a lot of people said I'm not doing it again. I did that for a little while. I'm done. I don't want to go through this.
Yeah.
And then I joined the army. They sent me off to the south, and I went, "Oh, it's not here," because I'm stupid, and and proceeded to go down every route I could. Uh, yeah.
I think getting older is just a realization of how many bullets you dodged while you were living.
Oh, go. I you don't keep track until you can recollect, and the only time you recollect is when you're old and you're going,
Yeah.
boy, I was insane about
Oh,
things.
yeah. Do you have anything left on your sexual bucket list?
No, no.
Did everything
Uh,
you wanted to do?
and some things I didn't. Not that I'm saying I had any. Well, I don't regret any encounter I've ever had. In the sense that, ooh, I think about it. There are things obviously you say, boy, I wish this would have been different, or I wish that would have been different.
Right.
But I've experienced in one life a lot of things that most people haven't. And I'm better for it. I'm grateful for the chance, good or bad or indifferent. I'm grateful for the chance to have experienced it.
Hmm.
People don't realize life is about living it, not just getting up, doing this, going here, doing that, and then coming home.
Right.
It's about
Right.
experience.
Right. Do you have a hoe song? Like a song that when you hear it, it kind of brings out that hoe spirit?
Uh, 9 Inch Nails, Closer.
Okay. Yeah, how come nobody else has ever said that song? Because that's a good what
That's
yeah, you
it's
can.
it's in the music. It's in the
Right,
music.
right. What's your Instagram?
uh the Den Man 9933. DADENMAN 9933.
Okay. And this episode's coming out 2 weeks from today. So do you have anything you want to promote around that time?
Uh I'll always promote my comedy. Black Bag Comedy presents. I have shows in the third week of the month. One at the Underbar in Vancouver on the third Wednesday of the month, and then one in Portland at the Covert Cafe on the third Saturday of the month. These are monthly shows. Black Bag Comedy, you can find it on Facebook. You can find it not on Instagram because I'm lazy, but Facebook and also check out pdxfunny.org for all the local mics going on in the Portland, Washington, and some Salem and Eugene area.
Okay, cool. All right. Now we've come to the time where and I didn't properly probably prepare you for this, but I'm just going to sit back and you're going to just tell me an entertaining story that has to do with sex in some way.
Okay. Well, as I'm old, I'm gonna talk about my first time with things, and this is a question. I'll present the question a little bit after I tell the interaction, but because it is a question that I've had, and I've had multiple answers to it, so I'm curious as to what it is. But my first sexual experience with a woman was with an older woman. I was 14 at the time, 13, just turned 14, and she was 19, 20, and she was in one of these places where I was sleeping. I was working steadily at the 7-Eleven, and I was getting some money going, and at the time I was purchasing drugs and other paraphernalias through different people, and I found out that she had this her name. I can use a first name. I'll call her Stacy. Um, she had smiled at me and started asking people about me, who I was, why I was there, why I was hanging out the house, type of thing, and we started talking, and she had said something about wanting to go to the store and get something, wanting to get this, and I brought that back to her later that evening after my shift, and one thing led to another from that little interaction to where she said, "Do you want to go to my room?" And me being the young child that I was said yes. But I was nervous. I was scared. I was going, okay, I read all about this, I see all about this, but let's see what happens in action. Um, and we got back there, and there was a little bit of kissing, a little bit of foreplay, but it was mostly her climbing on top of me and just starting to move. And I was nervous. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, okay, I'm going to get into this. It felt wonderful, by the way. I'd never ever had that experience in my life, so it was the
Mm-hmm.
best thing in the world. Um, and then I, after 5 or 10 minutes of this, it started getting really damp. Um, very, and I thought something had broke, either with me or with, I didn't know where all this liquid was coming from. And it was one of those things where she was just enjoying herself immensely. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there wondering, why am I all wet? What is going on here? This, I didn't read anything about this. No one said anything about
Mm-hmm.
laying in a puddle. And her gyrations continued for anywhere from another 10 to 15 minutes before she finally uh, came and stopped and looked at me and said, "Did you come?" And I went, "Yes." She said, "Oh, great." And, oh, that was fantastic and all this. I had not. I was just like, it's going to make her stop being on top of me, and me, I can ask about what's going on with all of this moisture. I understand all of that now. And
That's good. Good to know
I'm
you got it now.
I'm kind of appreciative of in the afterglow, wow, I was able to actually. I had nothing to do with what she was going. She was just using me as a launching pad, and I'm fine with that. But the question I have, and the question that's bothered me since that day, is does that count as my first time? Even though I did not. I say it does because there was the whole
Were you
penetration and the whole.
inside her?
Yes.
Then
Yeah.
you, that was your first time.
Okay. Okay. Oh, see, awesome. Yeah, and I didn't. We didn't continue that relationship to where we had another encounter, and so I was that. My next encounter didn't happen for anywhere from six
I don't
months to a year.
understand. Like, that's unusual, don't you think, that a 13 or 14-year-old boy could last that long and not come?
Yeah, I thought it was weird, but
Well,
there
yeah,
was
you do.
there was a lot of trepidation going on there. Um, and I was very I don't know. Yeah, that was just weird.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So, do you look like, okay, in today's world, they would say that a young woman molested you.
Yes.
Back then, it was you had sex with an older woman.
Yes.
How do you look at it now?
Um, I had sex with an older woman. I don't think she damaged me. I don't think if anything, it was a mutual. I was on board with it from the get go, and she was too. So there was never any question of consent. There was never any, and to say, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. No, I knew exactly what was going on. I just never. It wasn't a bad thing in the day. I mean, a la The Graduate, Miss Robbins. I lived my life in movies apparently, but there were, we even have American Pie with Stifler's mom, bringing up the one kid who wanted to experience an older woman. I don't know that I considered her an older woman though, because she was still in the teens, and
Right.
so I think that also affected
Older
how I thought
girl.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just think it was a different, I just think like young people now, they don't get how different the world was and how different
No,
we looked at things and it was normal to us.
yeah, yeah, it was just how it's been, and no one
That was
questioned it.
two teenagers going at it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Might get some blowback from that. Okay, so that was a lot of fun. It was great talking to you. I never really sat down and talk to you. I just see, we've been on the same mic or show before, but it was good talking to you, and I'll tag you when this comes out in a couple weeks.
Awesome. I
All
appreciate
right,
you having me on.
thank you so much.
It's been fun.
All right, bye. Okay, there. I couldn't find the end button, but now I'm out. Okay, bye.
Okay.